In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make French lace plaits, and I will also show you 3 hairstyles that use those French lace plaits as a base. The first one is 2 French lace braids lying on a loose hair. The second one is the hairstyle Sansa Stark wore in Season 7, Episodes 1 and 2 of Game of Thrones. And the third one is the hairstyle Sansa Stark wore at the hands Tourney in the first season of Game of Thrones. I have another variant of how to make the hands Tourney's Sansa Stark hairstyle, but that one uses rope plaits, so I will make a separate video on that. So, well-brushed hair, divide vertically into 2 equal sections. Put one section away, and the other section will be dividing further. The division line is the one following the arch of the eyebrow, going to the top of the head in a slightly and it's reclining slightly, so we'll have a triangular upper layer. Put the lower section away in a temporary ponytail, and from the top segment we shall be making our French lace plait. Take a thin small section of hair next to the forehead, divide it into 3 equal strands, and start plaiting by putting the side strands over the middle one. After you've done just once, we will be making our French lace plait. Basically, French lace plait is the plait where you add small pieces of hair to one of the side strands only as you plait that over the middle, and the other side strand you just plait over the middle without adding any pieces of hair to it. For this plait, we'll be adding the small pieces of hair to the side strand that is closest to the center part, and I will call it the inner side strand. And the other side strand you just put over the middle one without adding any pieces of hair to it, and I'll call it the outer side strand for simplicity. So let's look at what I'm doing again. So take a small section of hair, add it to the inner side strand as you're putting that side strand together with those pieces of hair over the middle section, over the middle strand. The outer side strand, just put it over the middle one. And again, take a thin strand, add it to the inner side strand, put it over the middle section. The other side strand, just put over the middle one. Continue to do so until you've run out of the pieces of hair to add, because we've made this triangular segment from which we'll be making a French lace braid. After you've run out of the pieces of hair to add, continue braiding a normal 3-strand plait where you plait side strands over the middle one. Continue doing so until you get to the very end of the plait where you secure it with a thin elastic. I'm taking rather thin strands of hair here because I want the plait to be rather fine, and also 2 of the hairstyles I'm going to show you here are basically replicas of Sansa Stark hairstyles, and her hairstyles are normally very neat. They usually use rather thin strands of any sections that you want to add to the side strands, and her sections are normally very equal, very precise. So it is important that the hair is very well brushed and combed, and that the sections are all symmetrical, all equal. So this is our first French lace plait. I'm just finishing it, and as I said, secure it with an elastic at the very end, and we shall now do the same on the other side. So I'll make a division line following the arch of the eyebrow, and it's going to be a slightly reclining division line because we want to have a triangular section which ends next to the top of the head. Put a lower section of hair away in the temporary ponytail, and use the top layer to make the French lace plait. So let's look at it once again. I'm taking a small segment, divided into 3 equal strands. I put side strands over the middle, and as I continue plaiting, I will be adding small pieces of hair to the inner side strand only. So here I'm taking a small section of hair and adding it to the inner side strand as I'm putting it over the middle strand. And the outer strand I just put over the middle strand. And again, as I'm adding thin pieces of hair to the inner side strand, put this inner side strand as well as the newly added hair over the middle strand, and the outer strand I just put it over the middle one. Take a thin strand, add it to the inner side strand, put them all over the side strand, and the outer side strand just put over the middle strand. So take small pieces of hair, add it to the inner side strand, put the side strand as well as the newly added hair over the middle strand. The outer side strand, just put it over the middle one. Like I said, as some of the hairstyles I will show, here will be the ones that Sansa Stark wears. They should be very neat, sections should be equal. The pieces of hair that we're adding to the side strand should be more or less equal to each other. As you run out of the pieces of hair to add, continue plaiting a normal 3-strand braid. Release the 2 temporary ponytails and brush the loose hair. Put the 2 side strands over it, or you can secure those with an elastic or join them together at the end or not. Now I will show you the second hairstyle, which is the one Sansa Stark wears in season 7, episodes 1 and 2. Put the loose hair away in the temporary ponytail and take one of your plaits and start wrapping it into a spiral at the place where you've stopped adding the pieces of hair. So we shall thus create a rose, which you will need to secure with bobby pins or open-ended pins. You can already see a rose, even though my hands and the pins are in the way. And then we will need to do the same on the other side. So take our plait and twirl it into a rose, basically twist it into a spiral to make a rose, and you twist it just at the place where you've stopped adding the hair to the plait. So here we have the 2 roses. I think the 2 roses in Sansa's hairstyle episodes 1 and 2 represent the fact that she and Jon Snow, the king in the north, son of Lyanna Stark, stand side by side, and they look after the north together. And the single rose in her hairstyle in episode 3 represents the fact that Jon Snow has left for the south, and even though he is there with his soul, he's physically away, and Sansa is alone in charge of Winterfell. Release the hair from the temporary ponytail, and this is the hairstyle that Sansa Stark wears in season 7, episodes 1 and 2. I think it's a very pretty hairstyle, and it also reminds me of the hairstyle she wore in the first season at the hands Tourney. Like I said, there will be another variation of how to make that hairstyle. Here I'll show you one of those, the one that uses the French lace plaits. So, to replicate that hairstyle, take a chunk of hair on each side. It's basically the hair next to the ear, and it is the hair that is just below your plait and all the way down to the ear. Put the big chunk of loose hair away in the temporary ponytail, and here I'm going to show you the chunks of hair. They're just under the braid and all the way down to the ear. So all of this hair we're taking, and then we do the same on the other side. We join these 2 sections of hair together and we start plaiting a normal 3-strand plait. You see the middle strand is we take pieces of hair on from either sections to make the middle strand, and the rest uses side strands. So just make a regular 3-strand plait where we put side sections over the middle one. Continue to do so till you get to the very end of the plait, where you will secure that plait with an elastic. And I'm plaiting rather tightly. Now release the roses and make those roses again, but place them lower on the head, and you will place them at the base of our 3-stranded plait, thus hiding the bit where hiding the bit where the two sections from the sides were joined together to make that central 3-strand plait. And yes, twirl the hair into a spiral, and then we shall have a rose, and then do the same with the second plait. Release the spiral and make the rose lower at the base of where the two sections of hair were joined together. I said before, Sansa's hair is always full of symbolism, and I think there was a very clear story told by her hair at the head's Tourney. Clearly it referenced the blue rose of Lyanna Stark, the rose that Rhaegar Targaryen gave to her as the queen of the Tourney, and at the same time we saw Sir Loras Tyrell presenting his rose to Sansa Stark as the most beautiful lady at the Tourney, and his queen of grace and beauty and kindness, whatever those favors supposed to represent. So now release the big chunk of hair under your 3-stranded plait, and this is our third hairstyle. I think it's very nice. And like I said, I'll make another video for this hairstyle where I will use rope plaits to create the 2 roses. It is one of my favorites, and I think all 3 of those hairstyles are very, very nice. As I said before, Sansa Stark hair is always full of symbolism, and the fact that in this season she's using elements of typical northern hairstyles and also adding something of her own, and almost always referencing some sort of rose, is clear representation of the fact that we now know Jon Snow is Lyanna Stark's son, and there will be some history change to do with that. And also that even though Sansa Stark is a Stark and the wolf, she's also her own person, hence her own elements in her hairstyles. I think all of this is very symbolic and very interesting.